Get ready to meet some of Marvel's most mind-bending new superheroes. From genetically engineered warriors to cosmic-powered beings, these characters push the boundaries of imagination and defy all of our expectations. Making her first appearance in Strange Academy issue 1 in 2020, Emily Bright was born with an innate connection to magic. Even as a young child, her abilities manifested in these subtle ways, such as healing injured animals with a simple touch. Her life changed forever when Doctor Strange personally invited her to enroll in Strange Academy, a school of course dedicated to training the next generation of sorcerers. Now at the academy, Emily learns advanced spells, elemental control, and how to summon mystical energies. However, her raw magical potential is both a gift and a curse. She often finds herself a target for dark entities eager to harness her power, including forces from dimensions that she never even knew existed. Emily's journey is all about self-discovery and responsibility as she struggles to balance her desire for a normal life with the burden of protecting the magical realms. Hashtag first world problems. Number 9. Doyle Dormammu. Making his first appearance in Strange Academy 1 in 2020, Doyle Dormammu is the teenage son of Dormammu, the infamous ruler of the Dark Dimension, and of course a long-standing enemy of Doctor Strange. Now despite his fiery skull and lineage and all that scary stuff, Doyle seeks to forge his own path, but this time as a hero. At Strange Academy, he works tirelessly to prove that he is more than his father's legacy. Doyle's powers include fire manipulation, invulnerability to heat, and the ability to tap into the interdimensional magic. However, his journey is marked by internal conflicts. He often questions whether he can escape the darkness of his ancestry or if his father's influence is too deeply ingrained. Doyle's dynamic relationships with his classmates, especially Emily Bright, add depth to his character, showcasing that his struggle to balance friendship, heroism, and the constant threat of his father's looming control is a pretty hard one to balance. Number 8. Eve Warlock. Making her first appearance in Warlock Rebirth 1 back in 2023, in the world of the Christian Bible, if you know Adam, then you also must have heard of Eve. Well, Marvel takes this idea and introduces a new female counterpart to Adam Warlock called Eve Warlock. Genetically engineered to be the perfect woman, in quotes, Eve surpasses Adam in nearly every aspect, making her a powerful and an intriguing figure in this reimagined origin story of the iconic Marvel hero. Created by the High Evolutionary, Eve Warlock initially defies her creator's intentions and, like Adam, seeks her own path as a hero within Earth 616. However, unlike many heroes, she's not known for her compassion or her friendliness. You can't have them all, folks. Eve tends to keep to herself, avoiding interactions with others and distancing herself from the conventional ideals of heroism. Now, this aloofness and lack of sympathy make her a unique addition to the Marvel Universe, with her character developing beyond the shadow of Adam Warlock's legacy. Number 7. Samurai Venom. Pretty self-explanatory, let's dive in. Making his first appearance in Extreme Venomverse number 1 back in May 2023, in a unique twist on the symbiote saga, Samurai Venom takes the fusion of ancient warrior culture and Venom to thrilling new heights. Originating from an alternate Earth, this version of Venom combines the power of the symbiote with the discipline and ferocity of a samurai. Now, although Samurai Venom has only appeared in 2 Marvel comics in 2023 and met a untimely demise, the concept of a symbiote-wielding warrior offers rich potential for future stories. It's pretty badass. Given Marvel's tradition of reinventing symbiotes, there's always a chance for this character to return. I mean, we hope. The origin of Samurai Venom is set in motion when an Oscorp employee stumbles upon this mysterious black sword. Upon drawing the blade, Takemoto, the unsuspecting wielder, is then bonded with the Venom symbiote, transforming into Samurai Venom. This dimensional character brings a fresh and visually striking take on the classic symbiote, and while he exists in an alternate universe, the idea of a Venom samurai could certainly find its way back into the core Marvel continuity, perhaps as a historical figure on Earth 616. Never say never. Number 6. Hunter's Moon. Making their first appearance in Moon Knight issue 3 2021, Hunter's Moon, aka Dr. Batter, is a devout follower of Khonshu, the Egyptian moon god, and serves as a counterpart to Mark Spector's Moon Knight. Batter views himself as the god's loyal servant, upholding Khonshu's will without question. Hunter's Moon possesses enhanced strength, agility, and healing abilities, especially during a full moon, of course, as well as access to Khonshu's divine magic. His character brings an intriguing moral contrast to Moon Knight, questioning whether blind faith or moral ambiguity is a better path. As both an ally and a rival, Hunter's Moon challenges Mark Spector to reconsider his relationship with Khonshu and the nature of his mission. Number 5. Wagnerine. Making their first appearance in Nightcrawler's issue 1 in 2023, Wagnerine from Earth TRN-993 is the result of Mr. Sinister's experiment, blending the powers of Nightcrawler and Wolverine into a single weaponized mutant. With both teleportation and claws, she's a force to be reckoned with. Though her time in the comics was brief, her fierce determination to protect her child, even at a great personal cost, of course makes her a memorable character. Wagnerine's fusion of iconic abilities offers a fresh twist on familiar mutants and left a lasting mark on Marvel's multiverse. That's the two powers you'd want, really. Teleportation and some claws? Game over, pal. Number 4. Scarlet Scarab. Making their first appearance in Moon Knight 25, 2023. Originally, they were introduced in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Layla Al-Fawli made her comic debut as the Scarlet Scarab in 2023. Her story adds depth to Mark Spector's journey, pushing him towards becoming Moon Knight. After his passing, Layla was resurrected by the goddess Tawarit and returned as a powerful protector of the Egyptian god's City of the Dead. With her new abilities, she teams up with Moon Knight, forming a compelling duo that brings fresh excitement to Marvel Comics. Her powers and evolving relationship with Moon Knight promise more thrilling adventures in the Marvel Universe. We didn't get a lot of her in the Moon Knight show. I wonder if we'll get more in season 2. I wonder if we'll get a season 2 at this point. I mean, who knows? Number 3. Ironfire. Making their first appearance in Sins of Sinister 2023, Ironfire was introduced in the dystopian future of Sins of Sinister. It's a mutant with the unique ability to transmute his blood into weapons and armor. Now, in a world where Sinister has taken fully control, Ironfire becomes a leader in the Resistance, using his powers to fight for mutant freedom. His character embodies resilience and defiance, representing an unyielding spirit of those who resist oppression. So when brought into the main timeline, Ironfire's knowledge of future events of course makes him a valuable, albeit haunted ally in preventing Sinister's schemes from coming to fruition. Number 2. Sora the Cyclone. Making her first appearance in Avengers Assemble Omega 1 back in 2023, Sora the Cyclone is a Wakandan meteorologist turned superhero, and she's chosen to represent her nation on a multiversal Avengers team. Her powers, derived from Wakandan experiments with vibranium and atmospheric technology, this allows her to control wind currents, summon tornadoes, and manipulate the weather on a localized scale. Sora's intelligence and tactical mind make her a critical asset in battle, while her Wakandan heritage ties her to her people's deep cultural and technological roots. And finally, number 1, Spider-Boy Bailey Briggs. Making his first appearance in Spider-Man April 2023, Bailey Briggs became Spider-Boy after being taken and having his DNA spliced by Madame Monstrosity. His tragic origin mirrors that of many masked heroes, but his powers allowed him to stand proudly alongside Spider-Man as his sidekick. Now, despite a complex relationship with Peter Parker, including Otto Octavius' time as Superior Spider-Man, Spider-Boy brings this optimistic energy to the team, which is always fun. Though he's not as popular as Miles Morales yet, or Peter Parker, nothing of that sort, Spider-Boy's charm and growing fan base earned him his own series in the same year that he was introduced, so he's off to a good start, so we'll probably see more of him to come. Maybe in Beyond the Spider-Verse, maybe we'll see a little Bailey Briggs, who knows?
Why do you need to know about American Kaiju? Does the name alone not answer that question? First appearing in Avengers Volume 6, Number 0 in October of 2015, US Army Corporal Todd Ziller was the test subject of a procedure by Project Troubleshooter, America's latest attempt to recreate the super soldier serum. As you may be aware, this rarely goes well for anyone. In this case, the gaps of knowledge in Abraham Erskine's serum were replaced by gamma enhancements, mutant growth hormone, PIM particles, and Dr. Kurt Connor's lizard formula, because those have all been absolute winners in the past. Now, this cobbled together serum coursing through Ziller's body turned him into a giant reptile very similar to Godzilla, for which he was given the alias of American Kaiju. He's basically Godzilla with an American flag painted on the top of his head. Now, he was unleashed and attacked Avengers Island after Avengers Idea Mechanics tried to rescue Rick Jones from S.H.I.E.L.D. custody. This led American Kaiju to do battle with Avenger 5, basically a giant robot. Yes, it was pretty awesome, I'm not gonna lie. But next up, first introduced in the Sins of Sinister timeline, John Ironfire became so damn popular that he made it into the Earth 616 timeline. Ironfire is a mutant from Morocco with the power to turn his blood into metal that he can then control. In one of his first appearances, Ironfire uses his powers to create metal claws, kind of like Wolverine, but his abilities are so much more than just making claws. Ironfire can use his power to create horns, armor, and he's even created molten bullets that that he shoots at enemies. During Sins of Sinister, he serves as a right-hand man to Storm in her Brotherhood and lives hundreds of years into the future, eventually looking a lot like Odin if I'm honest. After the conclusion of Sins of Sinister, he arrives in the main 616 continuity, where it's revealed that he is a member of the White Sword's 100 Champions, an army that basically wages an eternal battle in the lands of Amenth. Ironfire is the last of these warriors, arriving on Araco with the White Sword's blade, Purity. He warns the Iraqi mutants that Genesis, the wife of Apocalypse, is coming to conquer the planet, and he stands with them in battle. He's pretty cool. Mark Spector became the Fist of Khonshu when he was chosen by Khonshu himself and was given the moniker of Moon Knight. Now years and years later, however, in Moon Knight Volume 9, Number 1 from July 2021, Mark learned that Khonshu actually has two hands, and therefore two fists. And the second one was Dr. Yahya Badir. Originally someone who didn't believe in higher deities, Yahya was attacked by vampires and left for dead when he met the Egyptian moon god Khonshu. He was then saved and became a worshipper of Khonshu known as Hunter's Moon, the god's second high priest and opposite of Moon Knight. After Moon Knight refused to worship Khonshu but appropriated his mission, establishing the Midnight Mission, Hunter's Moon moved to his territory and took over a free clinic in the neighborhood in order to keep watch over Moon Knight, intending to correct the vigilante whom he believed had strayed away from Khonshu's purpose. Hunter's Moon has all the memories of the previous characters who became Khonshu's Moon Knight, making him one of Marvel's best hand-to-hand fighters. He eventually began working as Spectre's ally at the Midnight Mission, and I highly suggest you read that volume of Moon Knight to learn more. Debuting in Powers of X Number 1, which released in early 2019, Rasputin 4 is one of the more interesting recent additions to the X-Men, but she's also one of the most overpowered. Created as possibly the most powerful of Mr. Sinister's chimeras, which were basically spliced together mutants who possessed more than one hero's power, Rasputin 4 possesses 5 powers. She has the osmium metal skin of Colossus, the telekinesis and telepathy of Quentin Quire, the force fields of Gunther Bane aka Eunice the Untouchable, the intangibility of Kitty Pryde, and just to top it all off, she has the healing factor of X-23 Laura Kinney, or basically Wolverine. So as you can imagine, she is a force to be reckoned with, and on top of that, she wields the Soul Sword. Currently, as far as I've read, Rasputin 4 is working pretty closely with Charles Xavier to fight back against Orcus and others during the fall of X. While she was initially controlled by Sinister, he himself undid that, and together the two actually saved the universe, with Rasputin doing most of the heavy lifting if we're being honest. More recently in the Fall of X event, she was called away by Professor X to join the crew of No Place X, venturing into the alternate timelines created by the Moira engine, hoping to wipe out Mr. Sinister clones in each one before they could become Dominions, and to prevent the Enigma from ever existing. Next up, the character of Scarlet Scarab has been around for a long time in Marvel Comics, like since the 1970s, but the latest hero to carry the mantle is pretty unique in that she first debuted in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Layla El-Fayouli first appeared in the Moon Knight Disney Plus series with Oscar Isaac as an adventurer and the wife of Mark Spector. In the series' final episode, she becomes an avatar of the Egyptian goddess of women and children known as Taweret. Layla gained the ability to fly using those sweet golden wings, as well as superhuman strength and agility. Now, because of how popular her character in the show became, Layla's Scarlet Scarab made her debut in the actual comics in Moon Knight number 25 in July 2023. Similar to her origins in the show, she becomes an avatar of Taweret and reveals herself as the new Scarlet Scarab to Mark when he travels to the underworld, as Layla lost her life on a mission after becoming romantically involved with Mark Spector. Losing Layla was actually a factor that led Mark down a path that would eventually make him assume the mantle of Moon Knight, making her now, retroactively, tied to his comic book origin story. Now, maybe this next point is kind of cheating, but I'm making the entire new Ultimate Universe my next point. The Ultimate Universe used to be one of the most popular parts of Marvel Comics' publishing line. The Ultimate Universe was ended in the aftermath of Secret Wars, but alas, Jonathan Hickman has returned to bring the universe back to life with the miniseries Ultimate Invasion. Considering the current popularity of the multiverse concept, reviving Marvel's Ultimate Universe is a move long overdue, and Jonathan Hickman is definitely the perfect choice to script it. There's plenty of payoffs for those up to date with current Marvel continuity, as the evil alternate Universe Reed Richards, also known as the Maker, who originated in the Ultimate Universe, escapes into a parallel dimension where he influences events through time to remake this universe into what he wants it to be. There are fresh takes on characters like Spider-Man, Black Panther, Tony Stark, Reed Richards, Thor, and many, many more. But this new universe also has completely original characters, like a lot of the ones currently making up the Ultimate X-Men created by Peach Momoko. Moving on, 1500 years ago in Baghdad, a group of rampaging monsters known as the Army of the Devil was banished and bound to ordinary objects by the sorcerer known as Red Owl. At the moment of his passing, Red Owl then sent the monster's cursed artifacts across the globe. On that day, Fadi Fadlalah's ancestors pledged to find the 1,000 cursed items and seal them away, and this duty was passed down through the generations, falling on Fadi's shoulders when he was a teenager, turning him into the superhero Amulet. Amulet first debuted in Magnificent Miss Marvel number 13 from March of 2020 in Jersey City when one of the demons of the Army of the Devil surfaced at a fair in Sussex County. Now, as you might have guessed, Amulet teamed up with Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, destroying the artifact and banishing the monster. Now, he has teamed up with Kamala a few other times, but also with Miles Morales' Spider-Man, all while fighting and banishing more of these demons. Amulet essentially has the power to conjure Nazar's shields, which can vary in size, are powered and enhanced by love, can be used offensively, and even be used as platforms for Fadi to walk on air, similar to what Kamala did in the MCU TV show. Coming to us from Marvel's Voices Infinity Comic number 100 from May of this year, 2024, Jun Sung Justin Jin is Kid Juggernaut. And if that is causing you to go, wait, what? Yeah, exactly. Justin here is the son of Jin Jung-woo, who in turn is the son of Jin Moon-ho, who we learn was the Juggernaut before even Kane Marco had the job. After Moon-ho gained the powers of Sidorak, he was forced to join the Japanese Imperial forces who were occupying Korea at that time, and when Sidorak ordered Moon-ho to attack his own village, Moon-ho refused and the power went to Kane Marco, who then took the life of Moon-ho. Now, when Justin was 17 years old, his father mysteriously passed away and Justin received his belongings, which included a fragment of the Crimson Gem of Sidorak. After making contact with the artifact, Justin was given the powers of the Juggernaut. Justin learned his family history with the gem from his mother, who witnessed the transformation into Juggernaut, and how his father refused to take the powers out of shame. Justin and his mother were then confronted by Malfagor, a follower of Sidorak who wished to acquire the power of the Juggernaut for himself and had taken the life of Justin's father looking for the gem. Justin and Malfagor battled in the streets of Vancouver until Dr. Stephen Strange intervened to help rescue Justin, and he eventually joined Avengers Academy. In our runner-up spot, those heroes who have taken up the name Jackpot have not had the greatest of luck, which is kind of funny. It goes without saying that the Jackpot name is not new, with the first being Alana Jobson, who appeared back in 2008. The first Jackpot is now nowhere to be found, and the second met her demise under its moniker, but the third time's the charm, and the third time, the moniker of Jackpot fell to none other than Mary Jane Watson. Mary Jane debuted as Jackpot in Amazing Spider-Man Volume 6, number 31 from August of 2023. Mary Jane basically became trapped in an alternate dimension with a man named Paul Rabin, and while only a few days passed in the real world, for them it was actually several years, leading them to grow close, adopt 2 children, and develop a slot machine device that generates random superpowers for MJ. After returning from the dimension, eventually Black Cat encourages MJ to lean into her new powers and become a superhero. Mary Jane then adopts the name Jackpot, which is actually also a callback to the very first words she ever said to Peter Parker. "Face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot." Pretty cool. And lastly, Marvel's New Gods series has been teased for months with backup stories in the pages of various Marvel Comics titles, giving us glimpses into what's happening and the premise of the story. Now, it's done. Each of the story's key players has shown up in these back pages, including what seems to be the main player, a guy called Wynn, also known as Sir Redwyn. Wynn is the avatar of the powers that be, an ancient entity or group that ultimately oversees all things strange and magical in Marvel Comics. Wynn received the role of Avatar over a millennium ago and has served faithfully in safeguarding the universe, without any of us knowing somehow. Thanks to his long life and his knack for always landing in hot water, he knows how to get himself out of a tight spot, even as he begrudgingly performs his obligatory duties. Now, I've seen him often compared to DC's Constantine, and I think that's actually somewhat accurate, especially in his personality. Wyn's position as the avatar of the powers that be is only one half of the overarching mythology introduced in the Gods comics, and he's the direct opposite of the powers that be are the natural order of things, and they oversee all things pure and scientific. Rather than having a single representative in the form of an avatar, like Wyn, the natural order of things is represented by 100 immortal individuals who comprise the Centum, and one of them is Wyn's wife, Eiko Maki.
So, Hydra is once again ruining lives because it's what they do best. This time, they kidnapped a bunch of regular people and experimented on them, giving them superpowers. The person is brainwashed to believe that they are linked to a superhero that shares similar powers. For example, for today's first point, we have Moon Squire. He believes that he is attached kind of to Moon Knight. His Hydra backstory is that he acquired his powers / contacted his Egyptian patron after finding some forbidden ancient texts while on an internet deep dive. It appears that Moon Squire has similar, if not the same, powers as Moon Knight, with a focus on his ability to darken any space he's in, literally absorbing the light to create his weapons. He's not the only person this situation has happened to. There were quite a few of them. Some of the other experiments have found each other and created a team together called the Assembly, now New Champions. Hydra created all these little heroes so they would cover the earth and subtly influence the world to view Hydra favorably. The New Champions have discovered their evil plan and made it their mission to find the new heroes around the world and bring them to the good side. Next up is Calico, a big win for the Horse Girls. Introduced in Uncanny X-Men in August, she is literally a girl with a magical horse. Together they are Calico and Ember. Since Calico is very, very new, there isn't much to go on when it comes to how much power she wields. However, she has given readers a taste, and so far she is awesome. Through a powerful mind link with her horse, she can transform them into various horse forms. All we've really seen so far is kind of like a winged flaming horse. Calico can either stay as she is and just look really cool riding on the back of a flaming Pegasus, or she can give herself a flaming suit of armor and a sword and look even cooler. To put it simply, I want to be her. Calico's backstory is tough, like many young mutants is. Born Becca Simon Panetch, she grew up with a mother that kind of made her like a Rapunzel character. She couldn't access any media other than books, only animals were her friends, and she was once locked in a cupboard for 4 days, so you kind of understand the vibe there. When her house burned down, she got out of there and has been on the run ever since, eventually finding a family in a scrappy group of teens that call themselves the Outliers. My favorite recent-ish addition to the Marvel Spider universe is Spinstress or Spinderella. She is Princess Petra of Earth 423, and I have never ever wanted to be a character so bad. She is a Disney princess version of Peter Parker. She sings, she swings, and she even has her own MJ, Mary James Watson. He's a singing bard. Like Cinderella, she is banned from going to the big ball, but her fairy godmother swooped in to save the day. She gave Petra the prettiest dress I've ever seen and spider powers and sent her on her way. Now she is a crime-fighting princess living in a fairy tale land, and isn't that just the dream? Princess Petra did debut in 2022, so she's a bit older than some of the other people on this list, but no less cool. Phantasma debuted this month in Ghost Rider Robbie Ray's special, and she is awesome. She was only there for a little bit, but that's really all she needed. Roller derby skater by trade and Ghost Rider when she is put in high-stress situations, Isabella Alvarez might not have complete control over when she uses her powers, but she does have a good handle on them in the midst of battle. In the story, Isabella was supposed to be getting ready for a roller derby match, but she had a panic attack that caused a portal to open and release a bunch of demons. To deal with the demons, she had to become her Ghost Rider form, Phantasma. She has some super hot blue chains that she uses to corral them all, and of course she has the ability to open and close portals. She's completely fearless, as exhibited by her complete willingness to just jump through the portal at the end to make sure it closes with no real plan on how to get back. Phantasma was created for the New Champions variant covers event happening this month. We have another new champion, and her name is Liberty. She is part of the team Moonsquire is on, and she looks kind of like if Captain America and the Wasp mashed together. Her brainwashed backstory is she was a tech genius and was a leading mind in the advancement of hard light technology. She realized her true origins upon hearing a very loud scream. Liberty's powers are flight, thanks to her wings, of course, but the wings can also shield her from projectiles and electrical shocks. She's also able to turn invisible, but it isn't like the invisibility is coming from her. She has this light star thing that reflects light, and that renders her invisible to the human eye, as well as cameras and infrared lasers. Liberty's character was teased last year, but 2024 has been this girl's time to shine. Thank you so much to the person that was like, you know what we need? Space Spider-Man. Because we did need Space Spider-Man. I like to have fun, so why not? Persephone Parker is Star Spider. She is also the coolest, and I love her suit. She is from Earth 1978 and debuted in the Edge of Spider-Verse 3 in April. She lives in the space station, Bronx, because that's where her family is from. She's on the station because she's working as an apprentice to Professor Osborn, and they study quantum engineering. Persephone is quite sneaky. She is secretly dating Osborn's daughter and also secretly a space superhero. She utilizes the spiders on the ship, but they're not actual spiders, they're nanobots that use Shi'ar tech. They are what form Persephone's cool outfit. Spider stands for Sanitation, Planning, Integrated Defense and Engineering Robots. Star Spider's biggest fight so far has been against Octavius and the Kree army that were trying to invade the station. Deathlock is a newer Avenger, and I think he's pretty cool. Deathlock is Miles Morales from Earth 807128. Originally part of the Champions, he ended up facing Annihilus. In that fight, Miles ended up passing on, but then he didn't. He ended up turning into Deathlock instead. From what I can gather from the comic, it's because Miles stole the cosmic control rod from Annihilus and broke it. It caused him to become more cyborg than man. Miles in this universe is very similar to his 616 counterpart. He's fearless and funny and fights like his life depends on it, because it always does. Deathlock is part of the Savage Avengers. Even though they are from separate Earths, there's a lot of timeline messes happening, and that's how they came together. Deathlock debuted in May of 2022, so again, a bit older than some of the other heroes on this list, but no less cool. Ransom, another member of the Outliers, is next. Again, super new, not much is known about his powers, but we do know for sure that he has no heart. And that is me being completely literal. Ransom doesn't have a heart in his chest. Instead, he has a black hole or something like that. Now, this is not fully confirmed yet, but it looks like Ransom is one of those mutants that absorbs energy, and that makes him stronger. I got this vibe because when Wolverine was getting in his face, he said, "Don't touch me," seriously, kind of like a warning. Then when he was sharing his heartbreaking backstory about the time he was kidnapped and his rich parents refused to pay the ransom, the criminals threw him out a window and used their weapons 14 times, which in Ransom's words only made him strong. So it seems like any force used against this guy will only make him a tougher opponent. Moving into vampire territory, we have Pia. Pia is a vampire, as you might have guessed, but she is special and different than other vampires because she isn't hurt by sunlight. This is because she merged with a rabbit familiar named Tito. Pia has been a hero long before she gained her vampire abilities. She actually met her rabbit because she was being chased by a vampire. She saved Tito, but then another vampire ended up biting her. The two found each other again, and presumably as a thank you, Tito merged with Pia, giving her the chance to still exist as she did before. Pia is completely fearless. I mean, as a regular human girl, she took on a vampire with no second thoughts, and then did it again multiple times. But she's also really emotionally mature for her age after everything she has gone through. Her strange academy story centered around the vampire pandemic and capturing the Darkhold boy. The Darkhold was being really cruel out of a place of fear, and when given the chance to attack him, Pia instead heard him out and even saved him from Agatha Harkness by giving him some added protection by giving up Tito. And then she kicked Agatha in the face, so Pia slays. And finally, Deathdream. He is another member of the Outliers, and he is really creepy. He exists between life and death. He can choose which of those states he wants to be in at will. His mutant abilities manifested at birth. He was born still, was revived, and that situation happened 4 times the day of his birth, and by the 4th time his body just started doing it himself. Deathdream, when he chooses to be deceased, has necromancy powers and can summon souls. The souls can possess him, giving him powers like flight, or becoming a black hole. Literally, one of his combat strategies, it's so creepy, he just chest, turns into this black void with a head in the middle and beady red eyes. No thank you. It's clear that Deathstream is incredibly powerful, he's just really young. He doesn't really have a handle on his power yet, so when he gets possessed, he pretty much loses all control of his body, which nearly ended Nightcrawler in what was supposed to be a training exercise. Overall, he just seems like a really sad kid with way more power than he might know what to do with, which means his arc has a lot of potential, and I'm excited to see how his story continues.
Let's delve deeper into the heart of the inferno that is Temper. Idea Konko, formerly Oya, is not just a mutant with the power to manipulate temperature. She's a walking testament to the destructive potential that lies within even the most well-intentioned. Her thermokinesis isn't a neatly controlled gift. It's a raging firestorm that once consumed her, leading to a tragedy that resulted in her exile from the mutant nation of Krakoa. Imagine carrying that weight, the constant gnawing fear that the very power meant to protect could erupt in devastation. Temper's journey is a tightrope walk between control and chaos, a desperate bid for redemption as she grapples with the guilt and trauma of her past. Cyclops sees her potential, the chance to forge her destructive abilities into a force for good, a weapon against the very prejudice that fuels her inner turmoil. But the question remains, can Temper truly tame the fire within, or will the shadows of her past consume her once more, turning her into the very weapon she fears becoming? Her story is a powder keg, and her every move is one step closer to either salvation or detonation. Glob Herman is an open book, quite literally. Robert Herman's mutation has rendered him a living paradox, a being of incredible durability encased in a fragile-looking, transparent wax-like skin that exposes his very being to the world. This stark visual metaphor speaks volumes about the mutant experience, the vulnerability that comes with being different, the feeling of being constantly under scrutiny. Glob has endured prejudice, not just from the outside world, but from within his own family, a heartbreaking reminder of the intolerance that can fester even in the most intimate circles. His journey has been a winding path of self-discovery, from the rebellious ranks of the Omega Gang, fueled by youthful anger and a sense of belonging, to the quiet solitude of organic farming, a testament to his desire for peace and growth. His return to the X-Men fold isn't just a comeback, it's a statement, a declaration of his commitment to the mutant dream, his willingness to use his unique physiology for something greater than himself. But the question lingers, can this gentle giant, whose very form suggests malleability, withstand the pressures of a world that demands conformity, or will he be molded by the forces that seek to define him? Kid Omega, Quintavious Quire, is the embodiment of controlled chaos, a walking, talking wildcard in the X-Men's already volatile deck. He's an Omega-level telepath, a psychic powerhouse whose abilities rival those of the legendary Professor X himself. But immense power often breeds immense instability, and Kid Omega is no exception. He's a rebel, a provocateur, a genius with a deeply troubled past, and a disdain for authority that borders on pathological. His very presence is a challenge to the established order, a constant reminder of the untamed potential that lies within the mutant race. His history with the Omega Gang, a group of rebellious students who sought to upend the status quo, speaks volumes about his character, a young man wrestling with his inner demons, lashing out at a world he feels has wronged him. Cyclops' decision to include him on this new team is a high-stakes gamble, a calculated risk that could either unlock Kid Omega's potential for leadership and growth, or unleash a wave of unpredictable chaos. Will he rise to the occasion and become the hero he could be, or will his rebellious nature and volatile temperament lead him, and perhaps the team, down a path of destruction? Kid Omega's path is a tightrope walk over a chasm of possibilities, and the fate of many may hang in the balance. In a team marked by internal struggles and shadowed pasts, Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan, arrives like a breath of fresh air, a vibrant splash of color in a world often painted in shades of gray. This teenage Inhuman, recently revealed to also be a mutant, is a symbol of hope and unity in a fractured landscape. Her polymorph abilities, the power to stretch, shrink, and embiggen her body, are as versatile and adaptable as her personality. Kamala represents a bridge between worlds, a connection between the Inhuman and mutant communities, a testament to the power of embracing one's multifaceted identity. She brings a youthful optimism, a genuine belief in the good of people, and a unique perspective that challenges the cynicism that can often creep into the mutant struggle. But the question remains, can her idealism, her unwavering faith in a brighter future, withstand the harsh realities of a world that often seems determined to extinguish the light? Can Ms. Marvel's optimism survive the crucible of the X-Men's battles, or will the darkness that surrounds them ultimately dim her radiant spirit spirit. Her journey will be a test of resilience, a testament to the power of hope in the face of adversity. Rasputin IV is an enigma, a mystery wrapped in organic metal and imbued with latent magical power. She is a chimera, a being born not of natural processes but of deliberate design, a fusion of the genetic material of two legendary X-Men, Colossus and his sister, the sorceress Magic. This makes her a living, breathing question mark, a testament to the complex and often ethically murky world of genetic manipulation. Her very existence raises profound questions about the legacy of past conflicts and the morality of creating life for a predetermined purpose. Rasputin IV is a blank slate, a character yet to be fully defined, a vessel of immense potential whose purpose remains shrouded in secrecy. Will she be a weapon, a savior, or something else entirely? What role will this artificially created being, carrying the lineage of two powerful and vastly different mutants, play in the future of mutant kind? Her path is unwritten, her destiny unknown, making her a source of both intrigue and apprehension for those who know of her existence. She is a living embodiment of the unknown, a powerful force waiting to be unleashed, for good or for ill. In a team often defined by raw power and volatile emotions, Prodigy, David Allen, stands as the strategic bedrock, the team's ever-calculating mind. His mutant ability is a marvel of intellectual absorption. He can instantly assimilate the knowledge and skills of those around him, making him a walking, talking encyclopedia and a master tactician capable of outmaneuvering almost any opponent. Prodigy embodies the power of learning and adaptation, a crucial asset in a world that throws a relentless barrage of new and unpredictable challenges at mutant kind. His journey from the ranks of the New Mutants to the investigative proving grounds of X-Factor has honed his leadership skills, transforming him into a formidable strategist. But the question remains, can Prodigy's formidable intellect truly navigate the turbulent emotional landscape of this new era? Can cold, hard logic and strategy truly address the deeply personal struggles, the traumas, and the simmering resentments that define this particular team dynamic? His ability to process information is unparalleled, but can he process the human element, the unpredictable factor that often throws even the most carefully laid plans into disarray? Prodigy's success, and perhaps the team's, hinges on his ability to bridge the gap between intellect and empathy. Sync Everett Thomas is the team's power amplifier. He can synchronize with and duplicate any superhuman ability, making him a force multiplier in battle. His close bond with X-23 adds another layer of strategic depth to the team. Sync represents the power of unity and cooperation, a vital lesson in a world that seeks to divide, but will he get lost in the abilities that are not his own? Finally, X-23, Laura Kinney, a clone of Wolverine, forged in a crucible of pain and violence. She's a warrior with a healing factor, enhanced senses, and adamantium-laced claws, but beneath the hardened exterior lies a soul yearning for connection, for a life beyond the weapon she was designed to be. X-23's journey is one of self-discovery, of breaking free from the chains of her past. She stands as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, even in the face of unimaginable trauma.
Number 10, Tosin Oduye. Tosin is such a cool character. Okay, so as a kid, Tosin Oduye saw the way that Wakanda became a socially isolated nation who believed themselves superior and seemed to always attract war. The Marube, the tribe Tosin belongs to, began to separate a bit from the main Wakandan people. They hated the way Wakanda used vibranium for tech, so they instead found a way to refine the vibranium and flow with it. They gave themselves vibranium tattoos, and some in their tribe, who trained hard enough, could have the vibranium flow with them, granting them some pretty cool powers. It's like they harness the energy of vibranium and can use it to move extremely fast, or unleash vibranium energy blasts, or even seemingly grant himself a vibranium armor. Last thing I want to say is that the covers for the issues of this volume of Black Panther are just so cool. Definitely check it out.
Number 9, Aleph Chernikov. Aleph Chernikov is a young mutant hero who appears in the Wolverine Patch flashback series by Larry Hama. This was a miniseries that came out earlier in 2022 and covered an untold tale from Patch's adventures in Madripoor back in the good old days. Here, Patch works to help 3 Russian mutants who have escaped their government, but have been tracked to Madripoor. Madripoor is military, royal armed guards, as well as S.H.I.E.L.D. and Russia themselves appear to be after the mutants, but Patch, Archie, and Tiger intervene in hopes of helping the 3. In the end they do, and among them is Aleph, the child of the other 2 mutants, David and Raisa. Aleph appears to be the main focus of everyone everyone's efforts when it comes to hunting them down. They possess powerful healing abilities, psionic abilities, and possibly even the power to manipulate reality. But they're also a child, so of course everyone's like, we gotta protect this baby.
Number 8, Bitewing. There's nothing that wins me over more than a puppy. But then DC goes and gives a puppy a 3-legged gray blue-eyed pitbull puppy and gives it to Nightwing, probably one of the best members of the Bat family. And then they go and give it the nickname of Bitewing. I literally teared up just typing this part because of the overload of adorable that I got while looking at this. Haley the dog was being chased and mistreated by some teenagers when Dick Grayson stepped in, rescued, and adopted her. Now, the first sidekick turned full-on hero in DC Comics has his very own super pet, especially after she was given a costume and the ability to speak from a 5th-dimensional imp. Now, she fights alongside Nightwing as Bitewing, and it's cute. It's very cute.
Number 7, Escapade. I love Escapade, and I also love her BFF, Morgan Red. While initially introduced as a criminal in the Marvel Voices Pride issue of this year, I think it's safe to say that Escapade and her friend Morgan and his genetically engineered flying turtle pal, Hibbert, will soon become a team of mutant heroes instead of anti-heroes. I mean, even if they are criminals who steal stuff, they really only try to steal stuff from the worst people, which makes them still pretty altruistic. Escapade is a trans mutant named Sheila Sexton, whose powers involve swapping places with whoever she decides to use her mutant powers on. This can be someone as low level as a random passerby, or someone as high level as another superpowered being who is about to defeat her, or even the President of the United States. So much potential for this power.
Number 6, Bolt. Since the live-action Black Adam movie was announced, DC decided that they would also put out a Black Adam solo series for the first time. And in the first issue, it puts Black Adam on the ropes of mortality. In response to this, Black Adam finds his descendant, Malik Adam White, a medical student living in the Bronx. Basically, Black Adam just tells this guy he is going to succeed Black Adam and inherit his power, and then he forces him by having one of his people pop a cap in Malik, and the only way to save himself is to take Black Adam's ring and say Shazam. While Black Adam calls Malik White Adam, Malik gives a good little lecture about the inherent racism there. So he prefers to go by Thunderbolt or just straight up Bolt. From what I've read, I really like his character, and he is supposed to represent a sort of form of redemption for the character of Black Adam because, as they say in the comic, there is no true redemption for Black Adam. Not at this point, at least.
Number 5, Amass. Amass is a really cool new mutant. They made their first appearance in Steve Orlando's Marauder series in issue number 4. Amass is a mutant of Threshold, the oldest mutant civilization to have ever existed. They, along with 2 other mutants, had their minds stored within a codex, hoping that they would arrive in the future after being restored and would be able to seek help for their people who were on the brink of extinction when they last left them in the past. Amass's mutant powers allowed them to physically combine mutants and their powers together, joining together to create one basically big ball of mutants, which kind of looks like one big being. Hence their mutant name of Amass. This appears to both psychologically and physically combine whichever mutants they choose with themselves, with their new combined form also possessing all the powers of said mutants, which I think is pretty nuts.
Number 4, Grey Wolf. Of the characters I'm talking about on this list, my favorites are absolutely a 3-way tie between Tosin, Bitewing, and this guy, Grey Wolf. Okay, so Lex Luthor was running a crime-fighting experiment around the world trying to create a group of his own similar to Batman Incorporated, with the ultimate goal of creating Abyss, his own Batman. But then he abandoned all these projects that then went wild doing their own thing. So Batman Incorporated's international team, being led by Ghostmaker, go on a mission to bring them down in Batman 2022 Annual Volume 3 Number 1 from July. Their first mission is to Kazbek, Chechnya, to take on Grey Wolf. Grey Wolf was unleashed on the city to help its citizens who had been exposed to Lazarus resin that had made them all extremely violent. With Ghostmaker, he was able to cure the residents and join Batman Inc. as a good guy, but he displayed enough skill to best Dark Ranger, El Gaucho, and Batman of Japan in a 3-on-1 fight, and he beat Wingman 1-on-1. Also, he's like 7 feet tall minimum. Super cool.
Number 3, Black Mist. Black Mist is a completely new character who is not yet a member of Batman Incorporated, but who might end up becoming one in the future. She was actually one of my favorite characters to appear in Batman Inc. issue number 1 from 2022. Not only does she look like a badass, but she also seems to be wary of joining up with Batman Inc. Black Mist appears as a sort of consulting detective in issue number 1 of the 3rd volume of this series. We don't know much about her yet, but she seems to be working with Batman Incorporated to help them solve the mystery behind just who is killing all the teachers of Batman and Ghostmaker, and why and how this perpetrator is doing doing that. One thing we do know about Black Mist straight out of the gate is that she seems to have history with the Knight. The two recognize each other and are presented as friendly to one another.
Number 2, Egro the Unbreakable. Okay, so this one definitely took me by a bit of a surprise. Coming out of the 2022 volume of Thunderbolts, specifically issue number 2, we are introduced to Egro. Egro is a super interesting little troll-looking monster who lives peacefully on Monster Isle. But you see, Egro heard of the monster exhibit at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, so naturally he expected to go and see his own statue. He just had to make sure that it captured his true beauty. But what the heck? They didn't have a statue for Egro the Unbreakable? An insult like that could not fly, so he obviously had to destroy the other statues for the other monsters, which brought the Thunderbolts to fight him. Instead, after Egro punched Power Man through the roof with his big lava hands and incapacitated Persuasion with his telepathic abilities, which helped him learn English, he surrendered to America Chavez and explained the situation. Then, he was invited to join the team. Yay! Happy ending for the little steroid Yoda.
Number 1, Nightmite. Just like Superman has Mr. Mxyzptlk and Batman has Batmite, Dick Grayson, the superhero known as Nightwing, now has his own imp superfan from the 5th dimension, Dixel, though Dixel prefers to be known as Nightmite. While it might seem strange to put an imp from the 5th dimension on a superhero list given, you know, some of their track records, Nightmite is genuinely well-meaning and helpful, unlike most other imps who are somewhat mischievous or just downright troublesome. Being an imp from the 5th dimension also means that Dixel can be super powerful, as he has magical, reality-bending, and warping powers. Nightmite made his first appearance very recently in the comics, as of the time of this recording, in issue number 98 of Nightwing, which was released in November of 2022.
At number 10 is Amulet, or Fadi Fadlala. He's a great new addition to the Marvel Universe and a very sweet, innocent guy with a pretty good power set too, at least so far. His main power is his Nazar shield, which he can conjure up on command. But one of the things that makes this guy unique is that his powers are fueled by love and care. So for instance, when he shields Mrs. Marvel, he draws power from the concern of her friends to give her complete protection from harm. And these shields can also be manipulated to be used as flying platforms for him to fly around with. Originally from Michigan, Fadi moves to New Jersey to live with his grandmother and cousins who own a juice bar. I like this character and the others on this list because it seems like the writers are really doing their best to tell stories that people relate to in 2022. Having a superhero with an immigrant backstory starting in ancient Baghdad and taking us to a multicultural western city is just a really cool way of acknowledging modern reality for a lot of people. It's gonna be really cool to see where Fadi's story goes in the future, but for now, in his youth, he's already got some good accolades and a pretty nifty power set. At number 9, we have the Spirit of Corruption. Now, this isn't a brand new hero, but it's a new identity that Daniel Ketch has taken on in 2021. In Ghost Rider Volume 9, Issue 4, Daniel and his brother Johnny Blaze have a fight as Daniel is trying to convince his brother that his new position as King of Hell is corrupting his soul. But Blaze tries to kill him in retaliation and Ketch is sent to Hell, where he's transformed into the Spirit of Corruption. This is where this entry on the list gets a bit dicey, because this newfound power is pretty dark and doesn't scream heroism. But considering Daniel Ketch is a good guy at heart, I think he belongs here. And he holds on to some of his humanity even while transformed into the Spirit of Corruption, which suggests that he could still make sound decisions based on his good nature. Regardless, the powers he's given are extremely powerful, with superhuman strength, durability, and the use of the Blight Blade. This weapon is really cool because whoever gets stabbed with it will turn to sludge by the corruption of their past evil deeds, but if someone hasn't done anything corrupt, they recover from the blow. So he's good, right? Right? Okay, at number 8, we have Prince of Power, or Other One. At first glance, he may seem like a total conceited a-hole, but his backstory is actually really interesting in how he gets to this point. Basically, he is one of 2 sons of Regalia, Queen of Noblor, but when Other One is born, his unattractive appearance and low intelligence, not my words, that's actually how the wiki describes him, leaves him in the shadows of his extremely powerful and successful brother, Magistar. And this leaves him with his name, Other One. So one day as he's sorting paper clips, which he becomes a master at, he manifests the power and attractive appearance of his brother, and the Power Stone appears in his jelly bean bowl. He eats it by accident and basically turns into Prince of Power, with a power set that gives him superhuman strength, durability, and speed. But as a cruel trade-off, his intelligence is lowered even further. His powers are kind of bizarre too, because whoever he attacks is infused with the power of the Power Stone he's ingested, so basically he just makes his enemies more powerful. Hey, this isn't a list about the most powerful new superheroes, just the newest ones. Alright, at number 7 we've got Shaylee Moonpetal. Like a few others coming up on this list, Shaylee gets her start in Strange Academy, a community of young sorcerers and mages started by the Sorcerer Supreme, Dr. Strange. This is a great thing to see starting in March 2020 because it seems to be introducing a whole new generation of superheroes like Shaylee. Once again, she's still very young and her powers are yet to really flourish, but she is basically a hybrid between a human and a fairy. She can fly using her fairy wings and has the capacity to cast spells. She's also already able to teleport herself and 9 other people at one point, although this power still doesn't come easily to her without some support from her friend Desi. Like some of the other students at the academy, Shaylee's upbringing wasn't so easy, having been barred from visiting her human father and having to grow up without his influence. But only time will tell whether this experience will hinder or further motivate Shaylee to become a powerful hero in the future. At number 6, we've got Emily Bright. Another member of the Strange Academy, Emily might have the best grasp of her powers out of anyone at the school. Since she was a young girl, she's been able to manipulate magic on command. And when she's invited by Dr. Strange to the academy, she only gets more confident with her powers. She's capable of healing, energy blasts, she's beginning to master the use of the Eye of Agamotto, which allows her to perceive the ties of multiple worlds all at once, and she can multiply living creatures, which could be a good start to a pretty powerful and unique power set. It'll be interesting to see where Emily's abilities go from here, as well as the relationships she'll make at Strange Academy. At number 5 is Zoe Laveau, first appearing in issue 1 of Strange Academy. So far, Zoe has shown abilities of necromancy and hypnosis, but still seems to have lots to learn. Her backstory is particularly tough, and another brilliant bit of writing by the creators of this storyline. With a long bloodline of magicians, Zoe falls victim to depression when she struggles with her own abilities with magic. So to make up for her perceived inadequacies as a sorcerer, she turns to Gaslamp, who sells wishes like drugs. And her powers are increased for a time, but they don't last long and wear off, leading her back to Gaslamp over and over and over again. I'm sure you can see the metaphor here. Basically, she becomes addicted and eventually loses her life to this habit, but is luckily resurrected when her ancestor Marie Laveau is called upon. Now she wears a necklace that keeps her appearing healthy and alive, but when it's removed, a decaying version of herself is revealed as a painful reminder of her past traumas. I think we can all see how these details can be translated to the real issues of modern young people, right? This character's story is just so full of metaphors that it's just brilliant and deserves a spot on this list. At number 4 is Sora, aka the Wolf. Daughter to Psylocke and Forge, Sora first appears in Captain Marvel Volume 10, Issue 22, when the world has become inhabitable, at least on the surface level, due to lethal levels of radiation. Sora lives with a group of other survivors of this nuclear event in an underground facility underneath New York City. And only when Captain Marvel restarts the sun are they able to start re-emerging to the surface of the Earth. Some of Sora's powers include the summoning of psionic weapons and telepathy. She's also known to be a genius, which comes in handy, especially when needing to be resourceful in the position she finds herself in. It's really cool to see new characters like this being introduced in 2022. And not only are we seeing new characters, but new events and storylines that seem to be birthing whole droves of heroes at once. We're really excited to see where Sora's storyline goes, and we hope that this new son works properly. Okay, at number 3 is Bridget Thorsdottir, daughter of Thor. Okay, in the same event mentioned in the previous section, Bridget finds refuge underground alongside Sora and a few others. Bridget is unable to lift her father's hammer, so instead she works as a blacksmith for the other survivors. But when Ovi, not sure how to pronounce it, the dark son of Namor, calls Captain Marvel to have talks in New Atlantis, Bridget accompanies her. And thank God for that, because when things naturally go wrong, because it's Namer's son, Bridget is forced to call upon Mjolnir, and succeeds this time, gaining the powers of her father Thor. Seeing as this is a newer character and storyline, there's not much more that has taken place for this character, but this is a pretty damn cool start. And after this major event that basically destroys the surface of the earth, most of the old heroes and villains alike die. So in the early 2050s, it appears that there's a new wave of heroes ready to get their own issues in the future. Pretty exciting. At number 2, we have Werewolf by Night, or Jake Gomez, an indigenous hero with the ability to transform into a werewolf on command, without the need for moonlight. What makes this character cool and adds some modernity to his abilities is that he can only control his powers when he's listening to a playlist made by his cousin Molly. I think it's a really cool angle to have a young character's powers governed by their emotions and even their favorite music, because it speaks to the reality of a young person's experience in the modern day. I think it also speaks to today's culture in that many young people can sometimes fall victim to their emotions, giving the werewolf power a bit of a metaphorical quality to it. On top of this, the first real victim that Jake faces is the Life Pharmaceutical Organization, who have captured some of the tribal people from Hopi Reservation in the Painted Desert. So it's a pretty good commentary on modern issues if you ask me. First appearing in 2022's Werewolf by Night Volume 3, Issue Number 1, Jake is just starting his journey as a new Marvel hero, and we're very excited to see where this character goes next. At number 1, we have Dr. Multiverse, or Maya Chimera from Earth 8, who made her debut as recently as January 2022, so only 3 months ago as of posting this video. She first appears in Justice League Incarnate number 1, and I'm putting her at number 1 because I feel like this hero has the biggest potential out of all of them on the list. Her powers and backstory are really cool, and her direct association to everything multiverse just screams mainstream hit to me. I mean, her powers are crazy. She can basically track down and transport herself to the immediate position of anyone she's ever interacted with, wherever they are in the multiverse. She can also withstand explosions at point blank range without being hurt, and can see variants and alternate versions of people from different realities, and recognize any person's identity and home universe just by glancing at them. She's basically a god with powers like that, and it's cool to be here for her big debut in 2022.